Well, 2 weeks before the start of school, law enforcement groups are raising red flags about a new state law that changes how school resource officers and other school staff are supposed to respond to fights and take control of students. This new rule bars these officers from putting students on their stomachs or putting weight on their torsos. The police are saying it makes them liable for lawsuits and discipline to stop a fight. John Croman, there's a lot to this one. Why don't you just take over from here?
Hey, Gianni, well, Governor Walz and Department of Education say there are exceptions that provide cover for officers who need to use reasonable force to save lives. But the statewide groups that speak for the sheriffs, the police chiefs, and officers all read that law differently.
It places such strict restrictions on the ability for our officers to safely intervene when students are maybe in a position or involved in a fight or whatever the case may be. That their hands are really tied.
Plymouth Police Chief Eric Fadden is one of many in law enforcement sounding the alarm about a new law that will change the use of physical force by school employees and SRO officers.
The way it's written right now, and as we interpret it, I have a hard time expecting our officers to want to go work in the schools when school starts here in a couple weeks. Just because I feel like it's setting them up for failure.
State lawmakers in the education bill amended state laws on the use of corporate punishment in public schools. School employees and contract workers are now barred from using prone restraints, defined as placing a child in a face-down position. It bars them from using any form of physical hold that restricts or impairs a pupil's ability to breathe, restricts or impairs a pupil's ability to communicate distress, places pressure or weight on the pupil's head, throat, neck, chest, lungs, sternum, diaphragm, back, or abdomen, or results in straddling a pupil's torso.
Nobody wants to use force, but there are situations that are going to come up where there is a fight, for instance, that happens. And the goal is that you'd want to de-escalate that. And one of the first ways that you de-escalate it is that you restrain the other individual.
Imran Ali is a former prosecutor who now serves as legal counsel for the Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association. As he interprets the bill, it won't just affect prone holds, but other holds typically used to bring students under control.
You can't have compression in the neck area and the torso area and the back area. So you can't grab somebody and take him and move him or her to the side. Under the law, you can't do that because there is a total prohibition.
And I asked for my team to read me the law and the interpretation with the attorneys down there, and there's exceptions for health and safety of students and the officers, just like there is in everything.
The new law does say nothing in this section precludes the use of reasonable force, which says it is necessary under the circumstances to correct or restrain a student or prevent imminent bodily harm or death to the student or another.
The law is written to provide there's exceptions to student health, risk to them, risk to the police. So it is not being interpreted correctly, and that they certainly have the authority to do that. I certainly think we should all agree that we should not kneel on the necks of students unless someone's life is at risk, and that is written into the law to be able to do that.
Again, the chiefs, sheriffs, and police officers, statewide groups disagree with the governor's staff on how to read this law. They also say it was never vetted by the public safety committees with committee hearings, just kind of flew under the radar at the Capitol. So, Jana, you guessed it, they're going to ask for a special session to straighten this all out.
How do you read my mind like that, John Croman? That's what I wanted to know. If a lot of these issues that are being brought up should have been talked about in committee, right? But you're saying we didn't have that?
Normally they would be. This was inserted as language in the omnibus education bill, kind of the catch-all bill. And as you remember, it was a very busy session with a lot of stuff making bigger headlines.
All right. I'm pretty certain we're going to revisit this. Thanks so much, John Croman.